Ida Kidu is an ugly freshman at a high school. He was shipped off to Amazon by his parents, who couldn't bear to look at him. Eventually, he becomes an anti-love psychopath, hating the very idea of love. Until, one day, the most beautiful girl in high school confesses her love and forces him into a relationship. This legend begins with Burning Fighting Fighter, the strongest dragon knight in all the 7 realms. Aside from his name, he is the coolest and most popular, as he faces a giant wyvern. The alarm bell rings, leading him into the deepest pitfall, also known as the floor. Upon hearing a loud bang, Ida's childhood friend Chiwa Harusaki barges into the room like nobody's business. She straight up ignores Ida's tiny friend and asks him to buy junk food. Eventually, Ida agrees to take her to the store but refrains from buying junk food. One eternity later, Chiwa buys groceries for him like she owns the place, saying that his Aunt Siko and she basically have the same palate. In his mind, Ida regrets ever befriending such a gold-digging brat. However, he refrains from saying anything. Back at home, Ida cooks dinner for the two of them. He advises Chiwa to eat her vegetables or else she will be Sakura's little sister. During dinner, Ida ignores his surroundings and drowns himself in studies. He wants to enroll at a public medical college, so he could avoid troubling his aunt any further. Afterwards, like an independent man, Ida washes all of the dishes. Yet, Chiwa, the so-called best friend, relaxes on the sofa, reading a bunch of useless magazines. She tells Ida that a young princess-like girl named Masuzu Natsukawa will be joining their class. She is such a hot bombshell that every guy's weapon gets locked and loaded on the spot. However, unlike those worthless beta simps, Ida is only concerned with her ranking during the midterms. He wants to know if she threatens his position as the top dog of their class. The following morning, before going to high school, Ida reads out his 3 mottos of life. Later that day, the teacher announces that everyone will be changing seats. It is the moment where the MC of the class will be decided. As expected, with the help of plot armor, the new girl Masuzu sits beside Ida. They softly exchange greetings and mind their own business. From that day onward, Masuzu's gaze, also another form of the Matrix, starts affecting Ida's behavior. However, he remembers his motto and firmly stays on the right path. Until one day, Masuzu openly confesses that she has the hots for him. Despite losing composure, Ida deduces that she is playing with him. After school, he walks with her to a secluded area and asks about her hidden agenda. Initially, she tries to act all cute and innocent, but eventually she shows her true colors, revealing that she wants him to act as her boyfriend. Masuzu claims that for 2 months straight boys have been asking her out, although she, just like him, hates the idea of love and friendship. Ultimately, she wants to avoid further encounters with simps. She then takes out Ida's personal diary, which she bought from the thrift store. Acting like a true devil, she blackmails Ida into accepting her proposal without any remarks. In the evening, Chiwa runs towards Ida and Masuzu, calling them creeps. She claims that Ida must seek her permission before dating. At this point, both Ida and Masuzu are confused about what this girl has been smoking, yet they continue to listen to the rambling. In order to mark her territory, Chiwa claims that she knows everything about Ida. Back in middle school, he ran in a marathon and accidentally stepped on poop. After that, everyone called him the poop bulldozer. Eventually, after being impressed by his middle school bullies, Masuzu puts on a fake tsundere look, formally asking Chiwa's permission to date him. The following morning, at school, Kaoru Asoi reveals that Chiwa has been more proactively weird than usual. He suspects that Ida's sudden relationship has something to do with it. However, Ida doesn't give a shit about Chiwa since wants to focus on his studies and Masuzu. Later that evening, while walking back to home, Ida thinks that Chiwa should know about their fake relationship. Instantly, judging from his face, Masuzu guessed his next statement. She instantly refuses, saying that Chiwa can drop dead. She only cares about avoiding unnecessary attention, and this stupid move can ruin her perfect plan. Ultimately, she decides to have a conversation with Chiwa herself. The following morning, in an empty club room, Ida formally introduces the two of them. At that moment, Masuzu puts Chiwa on the spot, asking if she wants to be popular. She takes out Ida's secret diary, which will be their textbook. Then she clarifies her stance, saying that she wants to create a club to help young maidens become more popular. Initially, Chiwa thinks that Masuzu is plotting something. However, her decision instantly changes after discovering that Ida is the club's advisor. During their first class of Popularity 101, Chiwa reveals that she wants to pursue Takuya, the third-year ace of the basketball team. However, Masuzu advises her to catfish his younger brother. Masuzu opens their holy scripture, reading out a story of Ida's guitar days. Chiwa listens to it with unbreakable focus, while Ida's words hit him like Kamehameha. Ultimately, Masuzu gives Chiwa an empty guitar case, prompting her to carry it around school. She wants Chiwa to act as an artist and remember a bunch of different artists' names from JoJo. In the coming morning, Chiwa enters the class with the guitar case. Just as planned, everyone in the class started showering her with praise. However, all things go south as Takuya's little brother Sakagami joins the scene. He, along with everyone else, asks her to play a quick song. Naturally, Chiwa loses her shit as she unintentionally swings the case like a sword. In the club room, Ida reminds Chiwa that the doctors have asked her to refrain from lifting heavy things. That's when Masuzu enters the frame, revealing that today was a great success. She claims that love starts with apathy rather than likability. Curious, Chiwa asks about Ida and Masuzu's encounter. Being the sly devil inside, Masuzu claims that Ida saw her undies, effortlessly throwing him under the bus. Infuriated, Chiwa slaps the living shit out of him, leaving a big red mark. After she leaves, Masuzu shows her true colors. She assumed that Chiwa would leave the club after today's incident. However, Ida defends her honor, saying that Chiwa will never quit her goal. She in fact was the ace of the kendo club, but during summer she was involved in a severe accident, thus ending her career. Immediately, Masuzu sees the hidden feeling between Ida and Chiwa. Overrun by jealousy, she climbs up on Ida, saying that he belongs to her. As the next dawn breaks, Masuzu says that they must fight with someone. To back her claims, she opens the holy textbook, reading out loud the adventures of Burning Fighting Fighter. He was the prince of dragons on the planet Valhalla. However, he lost a war with the wyverns, forcing him to reincarnate into another world. As she continues to read with a few dramatic gestures, Ida feels like his own words are making him go insane. Ultimately, Masuzu writes down an extensive script, hoping they will follow it word by word. Later in class, as the bell rings, Chiwa barges in the door. She presents herself as a weird ghost-fighting tomboy who wants to seal evil spirits, whereas Ida takes the role of support. He wears a power scaling machine, revealing that Chiwa's powers are over 9,000. As their routine comes to an end, everyone in the class stands in applause. They gather around Ida, asking about his comedy skit routine. Instantly, Masuzu gets wasted upon hearing that her writing was labeled as a comedy skit. Back in the club room, Chiwa feels awful, as everyone called her flawless acting a comedy skit. However, Masuzu strikes while the iron is hot, saying that she must ask Takuya on a date. Initially, Ida tries to talk her out of it, saying that his harem is always open. However, with a determined glare, Chiwa agrees to Masuzu's proposal. The next day, she leaves a handwritten note inside of the shoe locker, hoping he will read it. As the moment of truth draws near, both Ida and Masuzu hide in plain sight. Moments later, Takuya arrives on the scene. He instantly accepts her proposal, saying that he likes mysterious girls. Eventually, they decide to go out on a date over the weekends. Later that day, as they walk together, Masuzu congratulates Chiwa for learning the art of seduction. She then advises Chiwa to become a lifelong gold digger. But instead of being excited, she diverts the conversation, saying that the author of the holy book is a genius. At night, Ida celebrates their victory by cooking all of Chiwa's favorite dishes. Yet, she is still dumbfounded and spaced out. She asks if he really is satisfied with the turn of events, holding the Guinness World Record for the most dense man. Ida says that she wanted to date Sakagami. Instantly, Chiwa bursts out in tears, saying that befriending him was the worst mistake. As she storms out of the room, Ida remembers the time she visited him after the accident. It was then when the doctors told Chiwa to stop practicing kendo. At the same time, Ida's parents had gotten divorced and remarried, leaving him hanging like a stray dog. A while later, at the dinner table, Chiwa said that she will hunt for a new passion in high school. However, back then, Ida was just an average BBC student. Still, he decided to become a doctor for Chiwa's sake, as he wanted to heal her completely. Despite all the ruckus made by Chiwa, Ida sleeps like he's intoxicated by Masuzu's dreams. In fact, he's so into them that he oversleeps. After jolting awake, Ida suits up for the library. However, along the way, he decides to stop by Chiwa's date spot. Unexpectedly, at the meet-up spot, he finds Masuzu closely keeping a close eye on Chiwa. With that settled, they find a good viewing spot and decide to observe. Little by little, the agreed time passes by. Ida aggressively asks himself about Chiwa's reason for waiting. Then after a few hours, Takuya arrives on the spot with two rented chicks and his friend, who is still waiting for a chick. They start to bully Chiwa, saying that they pranked her. Meanwhile, on the sideline, Ida loses his shit faster than a bullet train in Tokyo. Being a secret superhero, burning fighting whatever, Ida decides to take matters into his own hands. Yet, Masuzu refuses to let him go, saying that Chiwa might become sadistic jerk like them. However, Ida says that they should not impose their feelings on others. Furthermore, he cannot look away from a bully. Ida shouts out his dream fantasy name and starts waving his hand left and right. He then unleashes a Kamehameha, but the pipes seem to be blocked. The bullies take advantage of this moment and beat the living hell out of Ida. This goes on until Chiwa decides to grow some balls, defeating all the bullies using kendo. Afterwards, Chiwa apologizes to Takuya, saying that she doesn't like his ugly head. The following day, at school, Ida and his messed up face becomes an overnight sensation. Still, Kaoru appreciates his efforts in uncovering Takuya's true nature. He then diverts Ida's attentions towards Masuzu's empty seat, saying that it's that time of the month. While walking back home, Masuzu suddenly hugs Ida from behind. He instantly comments that she is the hottest thing in the world. As they converse, she says that the club will remain operational since its main objective hasn't been completed. All of a sudden, Masuzu takes a few steps back and without any prior notice kisses him. Unexpectedly, she wanted to recreate the iconic scene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. But we all know that's a front. The coming morning, at school, Ida finds a strange love letter in his shoe locker. The author wrote that she wants to rebuild their lost connections. Instantly, he discusses the matter with the love guru Kaoru. He assumes that Chiwa might have written the letter to rebuild their relationship just as it was before. After classes, at the club, Ida begins to feel restless, thinking about Chiwa's intentions. Whereas, she notices that Masuzu hasn't arrived at the club. At that moment, she subtly gets closer to him, saying that it's club activity. All of a sudden, Masuzu arrives at the scene and smashes her face on the sandwiches. With that cat burglar out of the picture, Masuzu points out the real problem. She reveals that the student council and the hall monitors don't consider them a club. Thus, they don't get a budget to buy JoJo's full manga collection. She plans to create a perfect anime opening song to melt the hearts of everyone. Out of nowhere, the cat burglar starts dancing and singing without auto-tune. As the day comes to a close, Ida finds another letter in the locker room. With lightning-fast reflexes, he quickly hides the letter in his pocket. Despite noticing, Masuzu decides to ignore this fact. A while later in the park, she asks if he is hiding something. However, Ida openly says that he cannot reveal the truth. Suddenly, Mana Natsukawa arrives at the park. She calls Ida a run-in-the-mill boyfriend and diverts her attention towards Masuzu, revealing that their parents sent her. Out of nowhere, Mana comes closer to Ida and kisses him. She says that he will belong to her. With that said, she introduces herself as Masuzu's little sister and leaves the park. Fearful, Masuzu starts trembling and crumbling. However, she tells Ida to avoid questioning her. From that day on, she begins to act more quietly. Even at the pool, she refrains from her usual bold behavior, until Ida walks over and gives an iconic JoJo reference to motivate her. She slowly steps into the water and starts to swim. However, much to everyone's surprise, Masuzu begins to drown. Instantly, Ida jumps into the water and pulls her out. In that instance, he gives her CPR to recirculate her breathing. Later, at the nurse office, Masuzu says that she felt hatred when Mana kissed him. Shocked and flattered simultaneously, Ida says that Mana's kiss has been overwritten by him. The following day at school, Ida receives another letter from the mysterious girl, asking him to meet on the rooftop. There, Hanka Akishino, who also calls herself a princess, tightly hugs Ida, saying that they were lovers in the previous life. Suddenly, things take a drastic turn, as both Masuzu and Chiwa arrive on the scene. Both girls are super pissed about the fact that Hanka is standing so close to him. They tell him to stop beating around the bush and come clean. In that instance, Ida tells Hanka to refrain from exposing their past lives. However, she makes things worse, saying that Ida is her ex-boyfriend. Instantly, Chiwa feels insecure and says that Ida is her childhood friend. Masuzu also participates in the petty game, saying that he is her boyfriend. These sudden revelations make Hanka lose her shit. Flustered, she starts talking in third person, saying that she will give him head. Afterwards, in the clubroom, unbeknown to Ida, the girls share each other's past relationships with him. This leads up to Hanka revealing all about their bullshit past lives. Eventually, Ida enters the frame, discovering that the girls are sincerely plotting to violate him. As they continue, Masuzu convinces Hanka to join their new club, saying that a princess must work on her ethics. Furthermore, she opens up the Holy Scripture, narrating the old passage called the Four Angels. As Masuzu continues to narrate the paragraphs, Ida feels as if he's been struck by a Detroit smash. Later that day, he finds himself alone with Hanka. That's when Ida says that burning fighting fighter was a thing of the past. However, Hanka refuses to listen to reason, saying that his fantasies spark courage and bravery. Later that day, the hall monitors pick on their club, giving them a punishment. Annoyed, Ida, Masuzu, and Chiwa begin to clean the swimming pool. There, Chiwa makes fun of Masuzu for drowning in a shallow pool. However, she counters her remarks, saying that Ida's lips were blissful. Out of nowhere, a Rolls-Royce drove up to the school. From it, the bratty sister steps out. She regretfully says that their father has summoned Masuzu back to Sweden. Instantly, without any questions, Masuzu agrees to her plans. She dumps Ida, saying that his face resembles a pile of poop. With Chiwa on her back, she decides to pack her luggage. Simultaneously, Hanka arrives on the scene looking for Masuzu. She wants to show her a poem written by her. However, being a snotty brat, Mana snatches the book and starts narrating the poem. She laughs at Hanka's worthless fantasies, causing her to cry. Angered, Ida wishes to slap her like Will Smith. However, the buff guard pins him to the ground. Still, his determined look makes Mana piss herself. In the same position, he advises Heimka to keep on fantasizing about him every night in hopes that it will come true. At the same time, Masuzu overhears his great speech. She decides to trust her guts and continue to stay by her mother's side. Infuriated, Mana calls her an idiot, saying that their mother will never come out of that room. With all of that K-drama settled, Heimka submits her poems to Masuzu, thus becoming an official member of the Ida harem. The following morning, during class, Ida feels a little dizzy, and so he takes a power nap in the nurse's office. A while later, he unexpectedly finds Heimka in his bed, going all commando. Instantly, he jumps out of bed, asking what the hell she wants. Suddenly, Masuzu and Chiwa start banging the door like they own the place. At this point, Ida prays to God for salvation and prepares to enter the grave. However, Heimka gives him a glimmer of hope and hides him behind the curtains. She then unlocks the door to let them in. Masuzu glances at the odd shape of the curtain, noticing that someone is hiding there. Yet, she believes Heimka's lies and goes with the flow. Out of nowhere, a pink-haired hall monitor named AI Fayumi appears. She says that their self-created club will be sealed by the council. Pissed off, Masuzu plays her devilish cards. She puts AI on the spot, saying that she's jealous of their success. However, being a woman with 2 huge talents, AI claims that she has a boyfriend. He is a senior in college named Murata Mitchell Degora. Eventually, the girls decide to leave the nurse's office and settle their dispute some other time. The following morning, as summer vacations start, Ida joins a prestigious institute to rack up some good recommendation. There, he unexpectedly runs into AI. She yells out a huge victory cheer upon learning that Ida is enrolling at the school. But after realizing her position, she goes through a character transformation jutsu and calls him a jerk. Later that night, during dinner, Ida rejects Chiwa's invitation to the firework festival, saying that he wants to study hard. However, soon after he receives a summon from the mistress. At a local cafe, Masuzu tells him to keep a close eye on AI and learn the truth about her boyfriend. Ida wants to refuse such an outlandish request, but the secrets of his diary might fall on the internet. The very next morning, during lunch, Kaoru begins sugarcoating compliments on AI, giving off "I am a simp" for her vibes. He then brings AI to the table, forcing her to share lunch with Ida. Immediately, Ida wipes his finger clean, saying that her cooking is delicious. Later that night, Kaoru forces AI to have dinner with the two of them. There, she tries to tell Ida that the whole Mitchell thing is a lie. But suddenly, Chiwa and Heimka fall from the sky, prompting AI to continue to boast about her imaginary boyfriend, although the lie is crystal clear to everyone except our Forbes Dense Man of the Year. At this point, even Kaoru is cursing himself for being the love guru of their school. After an awkward dinner, Ida, Kaoru, and AI walk back home. Along the way, AI asks about Ida's thoughts on Mitchell being her boyfriend, yet he remains on the pinnacle of obliviousness. In the end, AI realizes that this ugly boy is going to stay a cherry boy all his life. Later at night, at the same cafe, Ida informs Masuzu that AI definitely has a boyfriend. She told them about their first date and other unnecessary details like Mitchell was her teacher in middle school, and talked about being a creep. Still, as a creature of habit, Masuzu refuses to believe any of Ai's bullshit stories. Eventually, she admits that people like Ida and herself have a hard time trusting each other. However, he counters, saying that Masuzu believes in Chiwa and Heimka. All of a sudden, Masuzu rises up and kisses him on the cheek. She calls it a small reward for being nice. The very next day, the teacher announces that schools will be off for an inspection day. That's when Kaoru and AI invite Ida for a nice brunch. There, AI excitedly invites him to the firework festival, but Ida says that he wants to prepare for the upcoming tests. Instantly, Kaoru jumps in the conversation, presenting 3 movie tickets for tomorrow. He then invites both AI and Ida for the movies, making AI regain her lost confidence. As the day passes by, Ida joins Masuzu and the others at a local restaurant. There, Masuzu, ever the shameless, says that Ida must make AI fall in love with him. She wants to use AI like a living puppet for only scientific purposes. Naturally, Ida claims that Masuzu has lost her mind after giving too many heads. It is impossible for him to pull such a stunt with Kaoru's one-sided love. Yet, Masuzu refuses to listen to reason, and to motivate him even more, she narrates a dirty story from the holy textbook. After reading a long, tormenting story, Masuzu decides that Chiwa will invade their movie plans, making it a double date. On the subsequent morning, just as planned, Ida and the others meet up at the designated spot. Coincidentally, Chiwa also arrives on the scene. She made things as obvious as possible, saying that she was passing by the station. Ultimately, Kaoru senses her intentions and invites her to the movies. Along the way, AI desperately tries to start a conversation with ETA, asking his opinion about the dress. Just like any other man, he says that she's really cute and calls it a day. Blushing like a tomato head, AI tries to run away from the spot. However, Ida held her hand, thus stopping her escape. Weirdly, she asks if Ida remembers something from kindergarten. But even after a brief though, he comes up with nothing. A while later, inside the theater, the two girls start yelling at the main character for being such a wuss. Each of them supports their favorite female lead to such an extent that they are kicked out of the theater. Outside, Ida tries to ask about their behavior in the hall. However, AI diverts the question, saying that everything is alright. The next day, as Ida wraps up his backpack, he finds a strange notebook on I's desk. Suddenly, she comes back to the class and with a shaking voice asks him to return the book. However, due to her clumsiness, a bunch of books fall from their hands, mixing everything together. In a rush, she picks up the wrong book and runs away. Naturally curious, he opens her book only to discover that she is just as crazy in the head as him. Unexpectedly, she likes to write delusional poems more like fantasies in her diary. Meanwhile outside, AI thinks that shit was too close to the fence. In a secluded area, she then opens the book to check if everything is in place. Upon learning the truth, she rushes back to the classroom and starts chasing him like a dog. Eventually, the two find themselves in an isolated area. She starts crying, assuming that Ida will laugh at her like the rest. However, much to her surprise, Ida says that he will not laugh even if it kills him. To change the atmosphere, he activates his mysterious dragon aura, proving himself to be a cherry boy. Moments later, AI suddenly hugs Ida and asks if she can stay a little longer. She complains to Ida about ruining her notebook. Filled with guilt, he offers to buy her a new one. Ultimately, AI says that she wants to see the fireworks with him. Later that night, Chiwa insists Ida accompany her at the firework festival. However, just as before, he refuses without giving a good reason. In the end, out of jealousy, Chiwa says that she will go with Heimka. Yet, Ida doesn't care about her shit. As the next dawn breaks, AI comes to the estate with a cute yukata. Instantly, Ida's mouth is open wide apart, since he witnesses a goddess in human flesh. Afterwards, AI takes him to an isolated place to watch the fireworks. She hopes that Ida will remember the place from his childhood. Little by little, he begins having flashbacks of his memories. And then all of a sudden, he remembers the marriage contract he drew the years ago. Now, she wants to scan into that option before things go south. Despite recalling each moment, Ida says that things are moving too fast for him. He then makes a run for it, thus easily escaping the situation. As the next dawn breaks, AI convinces the student council to officially acknowledge the existence of Masuzu's club. However, she wishes to lead the entire operation, as she is the most senior when it comes to getting screwed. Chiwa tries to oppose her self-appointed role. However, Masuzu plays along, hoping to expose Ai's hidden agenda. She forces Ida to confess her love in the burning fighting fighter method. Surprisingly, Ida's magical abilities and parody rizzes up AI in an instant. In that instance, AI lets out a victory cheer, saying that she loves Ida the most. Furthermore, they will marry after graduation, have 3 kids hopefully not like him and settle down. Immediately, the fight amongst the girls brew, as AI says that she knows Ida from kindergarten, way before Chiwa entered his life. However, Heimka says that she knows Ida from the previous life and advises them to suck it. Frustrated by their petty fights, Masuzu reaches her boiling point. She tells them to shut their trap, saying that they are all going off track. Instead, they should focus on becoming more popular, as it was their original goal. She proposes that their club should participate in a trip. Excited, Heimka interrupts the explanation, saying that she wants to have a beach episode. As this goes on, Ida notices the sadness on Chiwa's face. He follows her to the hallway, asking about if it's that time of the month. He then assures her that their friendship has lasted longer than any other relationship. This cheers up her mood, so much so that she invites him to the shopping mall. Later at night, Ida asks for Masuzu's permission to go on a date with Chiwa. Unexpectedly, she instantly agrees without doing the usual "I will expose your deepest secrets" thing. Then, in a serious enough tone, she says that all of the 3 girls have previous memories with him except her. This is something she can never change. The next day, just as usual, Chiwa arrives 5 minutes late on the scene. Suddenly, their date is interrupted by Masuzu, who also wishes to accompany them. Meanwhile, as the trio of lovers makes their way to the mall, both Heimka and AI watch them closely. Inside the mall, the 2 girls start fighting each other to such an extreme point, making Ida think that defeating Wyvern was a piece of cake. After they enter the changing room, Ida is forced by Heimka to closely observe her swimming suit. He realizes the shit he's about to be in, and so Ida makes a swift escape from the dressing room. However, his troubles are just beginning, as AI forces him to pick a wedding dress with her. All of a sudden, all the girls find themselves at Ida's throat. Fed up, he says that every girl will get 20 minutes of alone time. In that time, he will help her pick the perfect dress. With that settled, one by one, all the girls pick their swimsuits. After a long day, as they head back, Masuzu expresses the need to create more memories with him. using the wisdom of the holy text. Ida says that they can start making memories and babies. Later that day, the girls plan to crash at Ida's place. Unexpectedly, outside the apartment, they meet with Ida's aunt Seiko. She instantly calls them out, saying that their relationship is a fake. However, Ida skillfully diverts everyone's attention and says that they are as real as it gets. Inside, Ida cooks a heavy meal for Seiko which she eats in mere seconds. After that, she instantly falls asleep on the table. Ida explains that Seiko has always been like that. She likes to take a 30-minute power nap at the dinner table. With that said, the other girls start to question the whole fake bombshell Seiko just dropped. However, Masuzu diverts their attention towards the impending problem of low cash. They must find a way to make a large sum of cash to fund their beach episode. Out of nowhere, Seiko jolts awake from the power nap, saying that their money problem will be fixed. In return, all the three girls, who are madly in love with Ida, must enter an event. Without any hesitation, Masuzu puts her on the spot, asking why she excluded her from the list. Seiko, being a professional game developer, says that Masuzu isn't really in love with Ida. To back her claims, she asks all four of them a quick question. Then, she inserts the answers in the new teenager database only to discover that Masuzu scored the least point. Still, she agrees to give her a shot, saying that she must win the upcoming event to change her mind. After everyone leaves, Seiko starts interrogating Ida about his relationship with Masuzu. She refuses to believe that their relationship is real. Instead, she advises him to be careful, as flowers tend to have poison and thorns. Amidst their conversation, he received a message from Masuzu, asking him to meet her at the park. Later, Masuzu acknowledges Seiko as a real threat to their fake relationship. She realizes that the only way to deal with this problem is to win the upcoming event. Eventually, she asks Ida to lend her support in the upcoming battles. The following morning, after school, Ida joins Kaoru and AI during lunch. He is left in shock, as AI casually chats with Haimka over the phone. The same thing happens that night, as he overhears Chiwa talking to AI. Ultimately, Ida concludes that Masuzu is the only one secluded from everyone. Despite this, the next morning, as everyone leaves for the event, Masuzu clings to Ida and acts as if nothing ever bothers her. As they board the train, both Ida and Masuzu decide to put extra effort in their fake relationship. However, they unintentionally push too hard, giving off an old couple vibe. A while later, at the beach, Masuzu briefly advises everyone to participate in various activities. With that said, everyone except for Ida and Masuzu stepped into the water. For some reason, he refuses to leave her side, saying that anti-love people like them must stick together. In that instance, Ida notices that all the worthless pigs at the beach are staring at her girlfriend. He then swiftly puts a towel on her back, indicating how he truly feels about her. Yet, Ida claims that his actions are nothing but fake. He doesn't want to become like those shitbags with love on their brain. As their fun continues, the girls decide to blindfold Ida, forcing him to play a game of tag. He must follow the voice of one person and smash a watermelon. Amidst all the voices, Ida, wanting to preserve his fake relationship, decides to follow Masuzu's voice. And luckily, she leads him to the world's softest watermelons. Later at night, while washing the dishes, AI confronts Masuzu, asking if she's dating Ida to avoid unnecessary attention towards her. Overhearing this conversation, Ida is left shocked by Ai's deduction skills. Yet, Masuzu effortlessly diverts the conversation by telling AI that she can't slice an onion. Afterwards, Masuzu tells Ida that they must prove their relationship to everyone by kissing each other on the lips. However, she will not force him to make that decision in any way whatsoever. Instead, it will all depend on his decision. She says that Ida must excuse himself for bed in front of everyone. That is when he must lean in to kiss her. As a result, everyone will be forced to believe in their relationship. A while later, during a card game, Ida decides to follow through with the plan. He excuses himself from the game. But before Masuzu can step in the conversation, Chiwa interrupts him. She gives them a lucky charm with the letter Z on it. All of a sudden, Ida is thrown off his game, and so he refrains from making any rash moves. Back in the room, Masuzu appreciated the gesture and feelings of all the girls. She reminds Ida that she is an evil scumbag who lacks basic empathy. Eventually, she opens the last page of the diary, where Ida had written his final goal. For once in her life, she understands Ida's feelings and decides to set him free after a trip. The following day, after everyone leaves for the event, Ida knocks on Masuzu's door to deliver her breakfast. However, she tells him to leave her alone. Ultimately, he steps outside of the house, where he gets hit by a bicycle. Unexpectedly, Mana was also in town during her vacations. She sits down with Ida, revealing that Masuzu was considered the jewel of their family. Their father always expected her to be perfect in all departments, but eventually, she went crazy and ran away from home. In the end, she tells Ida to always be by her sister's side. After hearing Masuzu's backstory, Ida runs to the contest site. First, Chiwa is called up on stage. She describes her love with regret in her voice, saying that she has always been an obstacle in Ida's way. Still, she will strive to become a better and bigger woman just for his sake. She ends the grand speech with an open love confession that makes the crowd go wild. Next up, Seiko calls upon Heimka. However, she is nowhere to be found. Ida realizes that she must have been experiencing stage fright, and in that instance, she sneaks up from behind, trembling in fear. Ida tries to calm her down, saying that she has worked the hardest in their club. He advises to list out positive things that she likes to calm herself. Unbeknown to him, Heimka begins pointing out all the positive impacts Ida has had in her life. As she passionately confesses her love, Seiko and the staff move the camera towards her, allowing her to participate without taking the stage. Amidst the chaos, AI walks up to Ida and writes the word shameless on his arms. As a result, she is disqualified from the contest. After a few candidates, Seiko calls out Masuzu, the last candidate of the evening. She steps out in her gorgeous black swimsuit, wooing every loser in the crowd. She apologizes to the crowd, revealing that her boyfriend has broken up with her. Instantly, Ida is ticked by her speech. He firmly struggles to walk closer to the stage, saying that Masuzu should continue playing her character. He says that two fake people are perfect for each other. As he walks up to the stage, Ida confesses his simping love for Masuzu. He firmly grabs her and seals the deal with a kiss. Afterward, back at the hotel, Seiko worries for his life. She tells him to drill a sense of hatred in everyone except for Masuzu. Following her advice, he goes to Heimka's room. There, he says that everything regarding the burning fighting fighter was a lie. He hopes that she will hate her. However, Heimka starts to love the fact that Ida is worthless to nobody. Next up, he walks inside Ida's room, hoping to rip off her marriage agreement. But Ida loses his composure after seeing her weep like a child, unintentionally. He gets a small paper cut on his finger, spilling the blood on the agreement. Immediately, AI takes it as his way of saying yes. Lastly, he goes to talk with Chiwa. She spent all night crying and wishing to be a full-fledged woman. She thought that Ida would pay attention to her once she grows in size. Filled with guilt, he walks closer to comfort her. However, Chiwa takes advantage of the situation to steal a kiss from him. At that moment, Masuzu arrives on the scene and comes face to face with Chiwa. It is then he realizes that his life is nothing short from World War III. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.